Hi there, and welcome to the third video for the Everyone's Interesting podcast, and I'm your host, Greg Alange. In today's installment, this is an interview that I did with my very, very dear friend, Raymond Joyner, who's one of my closest friends in the world. Ray is 72 years old, as he mentions in the video, so he's quite a bit older than I am, and he is a mentor of mine. A very dear friend of about 30 years. Ray grew up in Boston. He's had a very, very challenging upbringing, growing up in Boston in the late 50s, early 60s. And I thought it would be a really compelling video. So I decided to put that together for you. And I hope you like it. Thanks so much. And as always, please like, comment, share the video if you'd like, subscribe for sure. So you can keep up with what we're doing. Thanks so much. With me today is my very, 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 very dear friend, Raymond Joyner. And we're going to start talking about some stuff and try to get a little bit more understanding of Ray's life and where he's been and things that you'd like to talk about today, okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So, Ray, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about, you grew up in Boston?
Yes, well, Boston is kind of different now, but I grew up in, if you want to consider it to be Boston, but it was Roxbury, Jamaica Plain, Hyde Park, Dorchester, Mattapan, Roslindale, and all those surrounding areas, because at that time, in the early 50s and 60s, excuse me, areas were kind of cordoned off. Like Roxbury was well known for minorities. South Boston was well known for whites. And certain lines, if you crossed them at your own risk. So, I remember us being, I wouldn't say adopted, but we were separated.
Were you in foster care?
That's probably what they called it back then. My brother and I, Tommy and I, went to live with Miss Day, and my sisters went to live with somebody else. I don't even remember their foster parents' names, but my dad, every weekend, he would come by and grab me and Tommy and take us to see Ella May and Renee, and the four of us would go out with him, and we'd have a great time. One of the things I remember about him is that he always made me share, no matter what it was. Share with your brothers and sisters. And excuse me, especially what I wanted to say, hell no, they don't share with me. But, you know, because of the love I had for my dad, and he was my hero, my idol at the time, I did it, and he used to always play this game with me by hiding it. Let me say, back then chewing gum was a major thing for everybody. My mother used to pop it, my dad chewed, my mother hated for us to pop the gum, but so he would hide, and his favorite was jujitsu. And he would hide them in his coat pocket. And when he'd come over, he would sit down after work and he would say, where's the gum? And so I would sit on his lap and I'd start going through his pockets. And then when I found it, I would say, hey, and he would say, oh, you found it, so that's yours. And so I'd open it, getting ready to take one out. And he said, aren't you gonna share with your brothers and sisters? Now, mind you, there's 5 pieces of gum in the pack. I think it was 5 there. And I gave one to each one of my brothers and sisters, which was 3. Tommy always took 2. And then my father had already taken one. So I was always like, well, there's none left for me. So I shared with everybody where in mine. And he said, well, you didn't stop. He said, you stopped looking. You didn't keep looking. So I look again, and I never really went to his inside pocket because that's where he kept his medicine. I understood that later on. But, and that's where I found another pack, a full pack for me. So it got to a point where I learned to share with them no matter what it was. Growing up in Boston, it was fun, traumatic, unreal. I remember a time we were on a basketball court on Martin Luther King Boulevard, and back then the lights stayed on at night. So the lights were on and we were playing, and there was quite a few of us out there. There was a couple of teams. Now there was five, I think it's either 5 or 6 different courts right there. And so we were playing, and this is before they put them up higher, but they were like flat. And all of a sudden this car pulled up and hit the curb. These people jumped out. One of the guys that was playing on the court with us took off running through the park, through Washington Park, towards Dale Street. And these guys ran out, and you could see them carrying guns and stuff, and they ran after them. You didn't hear any shots or anything, but they didn't spray the whole basketball court. They were after one person, that's who they went after. Mm-hmm. That was the thing back then. Mm-hmm. And so it was not, even though it could be dangerous, it wasn't as dangerous. It didn't appear as dangerous back then. Mm-hmm. And it's like a lot of young people who hung out in the streets hung out together, so there was, safety in numbers. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it was always, there was always something happening. I just was one of those people where I needed to know what was going on. So I was a night person. I would stay out until 1 o'clock in the morning. My brother would save me, and where was I? Up at the basketball court watching the BNBL, or watching them just having a street ball, or I'd just be out there watching them and playing sometimes.
Have you ever felt anything about your sense of purpose here? Like, have you ever felt like you've had anything like a sense of purpose?
Yes and no.
Okay.
In my earlier years, no. In my earlier years, I just feel like I was running and not willing to face my own fears or my own demons. I let them control me and was too afraid to face them head on. But since then, it's not that way anymore. I feel more compelled to offer support, and I have to really feel that the human service field. I'm not sure what capacity I'll say that in, but working with people that need support in some way, shape, or form, because it seems bleak for them to get it mm-hmm. from their point of view, and being able to witness that and notice it and understand it and being able to help them is what I feel my goal is. Why do I do it? I don't know.
Can you guess?
I never intended to be this way. I don't like being around crowds of people, but I like people. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sure why in that way. I just know that ever since I was a kid, really, I've always looked out for somebody who I felt was being taken advantage of. I've somehow always been put into a position where I have to do something to help somebody. Mm-hmm. I mean, and when I was in college, I had a roommate who he had serious PTSD. I mean, mm-hmm. I've never seen anything like it. I came home from class one day. I came back to my room from class, and he was on the floor. And he had taken all of our clothes and stuffed them in bags and built up a bunker.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
when I walked in the door, he snatched me down, and I'm like, what's going on? So I'm confused now because I don't know what's going on, and I didn't know this about him. So he's telling me that they're going to kill you, they can get you, they got snipers. And I'm like, I said, wait a minute. I said, where are you? He said, we're behind the tree, we're in his bunkers, we have to stay hidden. I said, stand up. And I had to get really authoritative. And he said, no, we couldn't. I said, stand up. So he looked at me and I helped him stand up. I said, that's a window. That's a window. This is a dorm room. There is no one in this room but you and I. If you see somebody else in this room, show them to me. And then you and I will deal with it. And he looked around. I said, so I'm going to stop putting these things back. So when you realize that you are not in danger, help me. He stood there for about 5 minutes. And then he started helping me. And he said, how did you know? I said, because I know what the symptoms look like. And I said, when you start talking about getting shot and snipers and all of that, I said, I didn't know if you were in the service before, but I knew you had been in combat. And I said, this is not that area. And I said, the only way to snap you out of that is not to agree with you, but to try and bring you back to reality. And I helped him in a manner where his family, his mother and dad, felt that he needed to go back into the institution that he was in because he wasn't ready, but he kept telling them that he was ready. So they allowed him to come to college. But it was too much for him, and he and I got him to realize that because there's too much going on, and he had too much to deal with. So with everything that he was trying to deal with, and then adding all of this to it, it wouldn't be long before he either hurt himself or hurt somebody else. So he thanked me, he hugged me, his parents hugged me. We went back into the institution. The last thing I heard from him, from his parents, is that they were thankful and that he was doing great. I haven't heard from him since they. So
when do you think, and I know this changes over time, when do you think humankind is at its best?
I'm sorry. Okay, and I hate to answer a question with a question, but what is at its best? What does that mean?
No, I'm asking you.
No, because you asked the question, so in order for me to answer it, I'm saying, what does that mean at its best? Is there a best? If you really want to look at it, brotherly love and all of that went on, I don't think it no longer exists. Not in a wide range like it used to. People are more afraid now and it's not afraid of them getting hurt. They don't know what's going to happen next. And that's very fearful for a lot of people, especially older people that have gone through a lot of things. I'm 72. What's going to happen tomorrow? I don't know. But I have to be thankful if I'm going to survive. Like I have to be thankful for today. I can't look for tomorrow yet. I can plan for it, but I can't expect it. If it comes, I'm thankful. If it doesn't, I was talking, I have a group that goes on every Friday night, and it's a group of people, and I mentioned before First Academy. That means for individuals recovering sound thinking. That's FIRST, for individuals recovering sound thinking. It is one of the greatest and most important programs that I've ever been involved with and that has ever helped me, and it was a shame that they allowed it to discontinue the way that it was going. But it was 98% successful in addiction recovery, alcoholism recovery. But again, when something is working, society says, we're going to lose. So we're going to lose something. So we can't let that happen. So that's too inhumane. Now, people didn't realize that with an addict, I hear a lot of questions, and I'm sorry I jumped to this because
No.
I needed. People jump to the conclusions and deal with their own ideologies, their own theories about, well, why didn't the kids mean this? Why didn't this mean that? Or why didn't they have enough strength to go this way? And I say to those people, understand what addiction is. Understand that it is not something that you can control. So when you talk about, did you think about it? Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that don't have that can't do that. But those that have it, it's no more than, what is it, domestic violence. It's no more than any of those things. A person who's committing crime all the time. The difference is, with crime, it's not a disease. Domestic violence, the person who's committing it is a disease. Substance abuse, a disease. Alcoholism, a disease. Are these things controllable? Yes and no. It's not. The situations are always controllable, but are the people controllable? And unless we find out what those thought processes are of the people and their traumas that they go through, which they're connecting, we're not going to know how to help them. And because everybody has their own level of anger, frustration, so when you approach somebody, you have to be conscious of where, even though they might be smiling, where their traumas might have been, so that you don't trigger. And the way you do that is you try to figure out, you don't want anybody to touch certain traumas of yours. Just like, let me ask you something. When you meet people on the street, what's the first thing you ask them when you greet them?
First thing I ask them? I'm going to ask them how they are.
Exactly. Do you care?
Me personally?
Do you care?
I'm one of the rare people honestly,
other than the people that you love and care about, do you care?
Honestly, I actually do care a bit.
Okay. You're one of the few.
Yeah.
Most people don't care.
Right.
They ask it because it's a
like a rhythm of conversation.
Right. It's a thing to do. You know, how you doing? Oh, I'm okay. Try having somebody tell you exactly how they're doing. You will not ask that anymore. If you say how you doing, oh man, I got pains here. Oh man, this is happening, that is happening. You're going to say, well, damn, why did I even ask this question? I don't have time for this, whatever. But you'll stop doing that. And I think that has happened a lot because now it's like, how you doing? Doesn't need anything but how you doing? Good. See, you know what I mean? So we've evolved. People don't want to know how the next person is doing unless you're a relative or someone that they have deep feelings for or cares about. Other than that, society right now as a whole, I don't think they give a shit about each other. I mean, it's, first of all, you can't please everybody. But at the same time, when people, the road rage, the shootings, all of these things, you have to ask ourselves, why are these people taking out their angers, their frustrations, their hurt, their disagreements, their evilmost thoughts out on people other than themselves? Then they want to turn around and if they don't kill themselves, they put themselves in a position where they have to be killed. Why? All right. And it tends to go back to, in my opinion, it goes back to an ideology that was never set aside. It was always just, it was never forgotten, it was just set aside. Like you put something on a shelf until you want to use it again, and now it's being used. And people are not afraid of consequences anymore. So what, send me to jail. There's more people in jail than should be, but there's a society, a whole, what do you call it? It's like a whole government. That's a whole nother world. And people coming out, people that are doing life in there, they set the stage. They're like the governors, mayors, presidents, whatever. But it depends on where you go. They all have their own different levels of, what do you call it, respect or what have you. But people that are there know that. They know who to mess with, who not to. They know who to ask for stuff, who not to. And the guards have their certain roles as well. Society is no different than that prison. And in my opinion, excuse me, we are all in prison. we are all forced to do things that we really don't want to do. My issue is that there's a lot of people that are out here that need the support that can't get it. And just because a person makes $1 million a year doesn't mean that they don't need some type of support. And I think that's what society does today, and the brotherly love that you're talking about. If you can afford to pay for it, yeah, you can get all the help, all the services you want, but it's going to cost you. Those people that can't afford it because of the bills that are piling up or whatever's going on in their house, they suffer. Because then they have to do with things like mass health, Medicaid, these supplemental programs that aren't designed to do anything but cause an elderly person to go insane. But this is what I'm saying. Brotherly love now amongst kids today, I think it's misunderstood. I think the definition of it has been changed. And I think it's going to be up to the elders, up to parents, to put aside some of their evil differences, regardless of what they believe, and focus on helping their children understand killing, murder, defamation, all of these things that are going on now. It's not the way to go, because eventually there's not going to be anybody left. You know, you're talking about people killing their own families. So, and this has all been evolved, because if we look back to when I was growing up, even though these things might have happened, they weren't as widespread and they were not as frequently broadcast or told about. It didn't happen that much. And now it's common day. I stopped watching the news because I don't want to hear it anymore.
I don't blame you, sure.
You know, so
do you, quick question for you is, if any of your great-grandkids were having a tough time, right? They were having a tough time with the stuff that they watch and the stuff that they hear about, or they were fearful or worried. Because I've always, I mean, you and I have been friends, like we just talked about earlier. You know, we've been friends for almost 30 years, which is a really long time. And I always have always felt that you have, you know, immense wisdom. I feel that way, you know. And I was wondering if you ever had to give any of your great-grandkids, you know, a talking to or a conversation to try to help uplift them if they were having a tough time, what do you think you would give them, Ray?
Understand.
Okay, can you say more about that?
Well,
and Ray, say it, and Ray, really say it out, okay? Really say it out.
A lot of times when these kids are having problems, like I have a grandson that is in that realm, but he's doing greater. He's graduated from high school and he's starting college this summer, so that's wonderful, even though he's had a very tumultuous past coming up, and there are many triggers that he would go through. But like I said to him, you're not going to be able to change those things that happened to you in your past. But you have to begin to accept them. You have to begin to forgive yourself if you feel you have any fault in them. And if you don't, look to see what part you played in it. And if you don't see any part, then you have to look further, because there had to be, even if it was you being there, there's a part that you played in. Now, if these things are so, and what I told him is, I said, and I won't say his name, but I said, if you feel that angry and you're that upset and you don't feel you can talk about it to anybody, what is something that you really like to do that you can focus on, that you can put that energy into? And he told me what it was. And I said, oh, okay. Now, a lot of times, the frustration, the turmoil, the anguish, the pain, fear, suffering, whatever you want to call it, that these kids are going through, they don't understand. They can put a name to it, but they don't understand it. And we, as parents, haven't been doing our job because we don't explain it to them. We let them go on trying to figure it out on their own. because I think a lot of parents today, even though they're doing the best that they can to raise their kids, really don't have the time because of the way the world is today. If you know, back in the day, when they said to be in the house, by the time the lights come on, you were in the house. And from that point on, you had people that were monitoring, like they're talking to you. Like my dad talked to me about anything that I wanted to. But unfortunately, it wasn't until I did something wrong that I was talked to by my mother, and you know, but there were elderly people at that time that always would step in and support you as a young one, and that's what they would call it, a young one. And it was their job to help support us in a manner by helping us not only understand the way the situation of the world was today, but to understand who we were and where we should place ourselves in this world. And that's the difference, in my opinion, from then to now. Now, elderly people are too afraid to say anything, and me being an elderly person, if I see something happening, if it's not severe, I'm not going to get involved. If I see somebody beating on somebody and it's a male or female, yes, I might say something to stop. But other than that, it's too dangerous. All right? If you try to sit a young person down now and talk to them, the first thing you hear is, you don't know what you're talking about. It's different now. And I have to laugh at that because I used to tell my dad, you don't know what it's like. It's different now. And my dad used to tell me, you know, he'd say, son, it is different now. He said, but people are the same. He said, they're not going to change. Their reactions are their reactions, and there's only so much that people are going to do. He said, that's going to be the same. They're going to face that over and over and over and over again until you learn how to deal with it. He said, now you can either fight it, or you can sit back and understand it, and then use it to help that person. And as you know, when we were in Spring Park, the one thing I used to do with all the kids, I would listen to them, and then I would question. But you have to hear what they're saying because they want you to know. And a lot of times, we as adults will focus on the wrong thing. Kids yelling, kids swaying and flailing their arms, the kids swearing or doing anything that we feel is not appropriate. We want to focus on that. I don't focus on that. I focus on the words that are coming out of their mouth. Because when they're like that, they're telling you things that you need to hear. But if you cut them off, it changes the mood. And I know this because with me, as I was growing up, and even to this day, if you cut me off, I stop. Because I'm saying that what I have to say is not important enough for you to hear it. You don't want to hear it. I don't have the time to talk to you. Because I waste the time. So is it money or not the other? But so nowadays, you know, it's a thing where you have to find a way to get through to the younger people. And the way I see that is happening, I don't think they're going to approve. They don't like. But it would start with parents and school. First of all, the school is not your parent. There's certain things that they don't have any business dealing with your children about. If they think that it's an issue, let the parent know. All right. And the parents need to focus more on the thought processes of their children, not what they do, but their thought process. What are you thinking about?
Right.
Like I ask my grandchildren sometimes. I said, so you know, what are you thinking about? What's going on? They say nothing. I was like, oh well, what do you think about this? What do you think about? But it gives me an idea of where their thought process is. So
I like that.
if I know their thought process, I might be able to help them generate some things that might help them, or might motivate them to dig deeper or do whatever. But at least what I realize that they know is that they now have somebody that they can count on. When they're really in need to ask a question, they know who to call. I walked in, and I think I've told you this before, I walked into work and there's a guy standing on the table. And I'm like, get off the table. And so the staff pulled me in and they said, well, he keeps getting up there every time we take him down. I said, well, does anybody ask him why he's up there? No. So I went to him, I said, listen, why are you up there? He said, I'm listening to music. I said, there ain't no music in here. I said, there's no radios, nothing. I said, what music? He said, come here. I said, I'm not getting up on the table. He said, please, take your shoes off and come up here. So I put napkins up there and I stepped there. Lo and behold, he could hear the music coming from the ceiling, on the floor above him. Couldn't hear it on the floor. So he wanted to hear his music. So what I do, I went out, I got him a radio. Through the company, but I got him a radio. He no longer stood on the table. But this is the thing. People are so into what shouldn't happen as to why is it happening. Right? And maybe if you know why it's happening, you can prevent it from happening again. But
I like that.
we give so much emphasis on what's happened, then the rest doesn't do it. It's almost like shooting first and asking questions later. You're not going to really get an answer.
I like that story. You know, I know we're going to start wrapping up now.
Well, I'll end it with that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that's. I like your perspectives. I want to appreciate and thank you for taking the time to share your story today. And again, this is the Everybody's Interesting podcast, and Ray is one of the most impressive and interesting people I know, so I thought this would be a very good first interview.
But I'm not all of that, though.
Well, thanks for being here today, Ray. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And if I have anything to say to those that watch this, it's just respect and love yourself and treat others as you would want to be treated, even though they may not treat you that way, because you always have a choice.
I like that. That's a perfect way to end. All right. Well, thanks so much, Ray.
Oh, my pleasure. Words to live by.
I like that. I like that.